All right, guys. One dude who will not be receiving the football from Trevor Lawrence, that is DJ Chark. So he signs a one-year deal with the Lions. Steve, was there no market for this guy? And what do you think his fantasy value is going to be with Detroit, now catching balls from Jared Goff?
Well, put it this way. If there was no market for DJ Chark on a one-year, $10 million deal, then I don't know what half of these NFL teams were even thinking. That feels like a steal for somebody who has tremendous upside. But that upside is now going to be capped because he's going to be catching balls from Jared Goff, who just doesn't throw downfield at all. He threw downfield at one of the lowest rates in the league last year. 9.1% of the time he was going downfield of 20 yards or more. That doesn't exactly suit the kind of player that DJ Chark is. So that's going to cap his upside tremendously. But that being said, he instantly moves up to the wide receiver one in this offense because they have probably the worst group of receivers in the NFL last season. So there is some upside there with that, but it doesn't particularly go to the game that DJ Chark likes to play. He's not going to be one of these guys that's going to be catching these short early downs, or maybe he's going to have to if he at least wants to get the ball, but that wasn't the team that the Lions were last year either. They ran the ball one of the highest rates on early downs. So kind of confused by the move. And if that's how limited Chark's market was, it's really puzzling because there's a lot of teams, hello Green Bay, that could use another receiver.
Okay. Jeff, how do you feel about this one?
Pretty similar to Steve. I'm a little bit more optimistic. I do think the Lions potentially, I think they're just going to be a little bit better last year. I mean, we did talk about this team a lot, mainly Pearce, during the regular season, and they were probably better than their record indicated, right? And Jared Goff, once upon a time, had a pretty good connection with guys like Sammy Watkins and Brandon Cooks downfield. Now it's a different offense, but the targets are going to be there. If Jared Goff is throwing downfield at any game next year, it's going to be to DJ Chark because Amon-Ra St. Brown essentially becomes the underneath guy, and he did last year, and he's good in that role, I think. But Chark will be the player stretching the field all games. And if the Lions are running the ball a little bit better and they're just a little bit better team, there's going to be more open looks, more one-on-one situations for Chark. So it's a great risk-reward signing. It's like the exact opposite of the Christian Kirk signing. It's a perfect risk-reward upside signing. You can get away from it quickly if you want. You're not setting up this guy up for huge failure either. He knows he's coming in. He's got to prove it. You're not giving him all the money up front like you did with Kirk. So I think Chark could be very sneaky next year, potentially, especially on DraftKings for DFS. And this player is going to probably go off a couple times with those long touchdowns.
Yeah, Pearce, Pro Bowler in 2019. And on your Lions, the Lions that you said, pretty much a 500 football team? Maybe they'll be a winning football team this year.
Super Bowl champions, actually, I'm pretty sure, 2022.
This is going to sink then. If you are signing Jaguars castaways, that's not a good look. If anyone knows if he's still got it or not, it would be the team that he played for. And if they say, nah, he doesn't have it, and they let him go, then he probably doesn't have it. If they're willing to go with Kirk, then I think Kirk's probably the better option. He's not a good receiver, and this is not a good team. Even though they were pretty much 500, still, that's barely 500, we'll say now. Look at his 1 year, that 2019 Pro Bowl season where he caught 73 passes, over 1,000 yards. The Jags were a 6-10 team. They were always playing from behind. They were always in pass-heavy scripts. They were often playing against softer coverage because they were losing. When you look at him over the course of his career, he just really hasn't done much. I'm sure, like Jeff mentioned, there will be weeks where he'll be relevant, just like Amon St. Brown was relevant several times, especially in games where Detroit's getting blown out, even though they did keep it close half the time. But I'm not excited about this. This is completely irrelevant to me.